Well, I don't know if Twitch has a notification limit like on YouTube, but hey, let's push it. And let's do something about this blank screen, because once again, I closed the camera when I thought I was opening it. Oh, what am I going to do with this darn thing? What is up, everybody? This is Jay, aka MultimediaJay. At the rate I'm going, I might as well have just make sure that the camera doesn't do its thing, or and stuff along those lines. But so coming off of a rather goofy discussion earlier, well, a rather serious discussion earlier, I think it's about time we fired up some music, and we talked about something that's a bit closer to home for someone like me, and that is PC hardware. What happened to the PC hardware industry? So let's see, does this thing even still work? Let's see, we're loading, I want to load Streamlabs. I want to load Streambeats Synthwave. Get some of that 80s-ish type stuff going here. Ready? Okay, that is going out, right? Okay, good. It is actually. All right. Well, that's kind of redundant, isn't it, to play the starting theme again? I gotta figure out something for streaming, though. So Harris Heller will actually get Spotify plays if I do this through Spotify instead of Winamp. So I have to set up something. I wonder if there's a way that Spotify could go through a media player like this instead of just having a little box in the corner that's just a static, you know, Hachi Roku by Harris Heller. Gotta see if I can add a Spotify integration into this so he can get credit for playing these songs. I mean, yeah, I am following the license by using Streambeats the way I'm using them, but if there's a way I can further support what he's doing with some of these awesome tunes like this guitar solo and stuff, I totally want to do that. So, Twitch 30 FPS, let's take a look at the PC hardware industry. What the heck has happened? Now, see, let's load Microsoft Edge, and let's do what we always do with Microsoft Edge, which is nuke all the settings. I don't have profiles or anything, but we'll just reset everything. Restore to default values. Goodbye. Constantly eliminating. So we can actually load up Glary utilities and get that going too. Let's load Glary here. Let's see. Utilities 5. Let's load some stuff for Glary. It's going to say, hey, you want to close your other stuff? So Microsoft Edge is closed though, so hopefully it just closes that out. So yeah, PC hardware industry, shortages all over the place. I go looking on Newegg. I go looking for stuff on Newegg, and I can't actually find anything other than a couple of niche things like. So I was able to upgrade to a M2 drive after 10 years of using serial ATA SSDs as my main system drive. All right. No, I don't want to close Firefox. I don't want to close Google Chrome. Just want only the stuff from Microsoft Edge to be blown away, as usual. Answer is no. Answer is no. Just wipe all that out. Prepare. No disk errors. That's good. All right, let's get this done here. Loving this music, though. Spectre's another good one. Starting to know some of these tracks on a first-name basis. This one actually reminds me of Blinding Lights is the real name of that song. So, Blinded by the Light is already a song whose name has been used by Manfred Mann in the whatever name, Earth Band or whatever it is. Yeah, classic rock song. But yeah, this synthwave that's been going around lately. So, the reason for this discussion is that I saw some rants on Twitter from some tech folks. And one of the things I noticed with the whole issue with the tech folks is that they're like, hey, I can't get any graphics cards. I can't get anything for my computer. It's like, I want to actually build computers, I want to do this, but there's nothing available. And I go and I read and I find out there's a silicon plant. There's a silicon plant in Taiwan. Let's see, delete. There we go. There's a silicon plant in Taiwan. What the? There's a silicon plant in Taiwan that Holy crap. Yeah, I'm getting recommended a gaming chair that's pink and white. And it has massage in it. Oh, this is cool. $163. It looks like a ripoff of Secret Lab, though. It's got like a neck pillow and a lumbar pillow as standard, though. That's cool. Yeah, I gotta get a lumbar pillow for this and a neck pillow because I've been winging it with those horseshoe-shaped pillows, but I'm sick of having to, you know, not lose a pillow in order to have a pillow for my head and stuff at the top. As well as, you know, lumbar pillow be better for back support when I'm leaning in the chair and whatnot. Should be a good thing to have. And then there's this one. What's this one called? The Startup. Kind of reminds me of the It's My Life song, which actually is from the 90s and stuff. All right. What is in stock for Ryzen CPUs? What is in stock for Ryzen CPUs on Newegg right now? If I wanted to build a Ryzen system, what could I actually get? And I know I'm going to have a hard time finding graphics cards. So let's do shipped by Newegg, which cuts it down to 26 SKUs. And what are we looking at for that? All right, let's see here. Ryzen, switch to Microsoft Edge. No automatic link. Let's see here. Newegg. Desktop CPU buying guide. So what do we have here? Oh yeah, this is from when I was trying to make things look a little bit more blue. All right, so what do we have here? Ryzen 5 3600 for $200 versus 3900X for half a grand. The Ryzen 9's around the $5,000 mark. Ryzen 7 2700X 284. There's some 5s in there. And there's some open boxers and things like that. Yeah, I'd say it's competitively priced. I think what I get hosed on is the motherboards, RAM, and graphics and stuff. But all these shortages everywhere. What happened? That's really what I gotta know. You know, used to be crypto was the issue here. Yeah, it used to be crypto was the issue, and people were mining on graphics cards, but that's not really a thing anymore, I don't think. So let me see something here with Firefox. So part of the reason why we're having this discussion is because of some of these videos I've been seeing from testing games over on YouTube. Now, this channel is exactly what you think it is, testing games. So something I've been noting is that a lot of the newer processors out there have gotten me very seriously wondering if I should even bother with... Let's see. Let's run that a little to get this screeny instead. A lot of these processors out there have me very seriously wondering if I should even bother with retro systems anymore, because look at this difference between a 6300 and AMD FX, for those running AMD FX systems into the ground, and a 5600X. So this is Cyberpunk 2077 being tested here. Average of 46 frames per second on the FX series chip, and then the Ryzen 5, not even the Ryzen 5, not even the highest end Ryzen here. Not a 7, not a 9, Ryzen 5. So the GPU isn't throttled. The FX 6300 is being pummeled to within an inch of its ability to run, whereas 78% with the overhead of the R5 5600X. I don't know if this little overhead would be enough for me to be able to stream with one processor. But look at the power. Look at the power draw here. 102 watts versus 55 watts. And I wish I could say that this is a unique situation, but the truth is that it's not. With half these videos that I'm seeing this guy do, it seems like the Ryzens are constantly winning on power, and I don't just mean power, I mean power efficiency as well. So let me go to testing games here. It looks like Gamevo.com is their new sponsor or something. So I've been watching this channel on and off for years because it's just nice and simple, just testing games, comparing, you know, whether or not patches destroy the performance of a game or anything of that sort. Ryzen 5 5600 versus 3600. What the difference between the two? Actually, no. Here's a cool one from 3 weeks ago. let's play the ad and support the creator. I have it muted anyway, so let's see. Let's play the ad, support the creator. Let's look at Death Stranding. Let's freeze a screeny here. And let's look at some of the reasons why I'm actually looking to buy an AMD system next go-round. Look at this. Wow. 8 games of testing. This is Death Stranding. The Ryzen 5 plays ball with the i9-10900K, even though it does use more of the CPU in order to render everything. But similar FPS, 77 watts versus 142 watts. It's nuts. How about the next game? Cyberpunk 2077 plays ball with the i9, and this is the Ryzen 5 5600X. Yeah, power 89 watts versus 153 watts. Still getting slammed harder than the i9, but in terms of... Now, a lot of people think I'm too much of a hippie when it comes to computer stuff. Well, part of the reason why I look at power efficiency is this kind of a snowball effect. If you know anything about electronics, generating a watt of power usually has a side effect of generating heat. When you're running electronics, one of the side effects is heat that gets generated. And heat is the enemy of circuitry, as we know. And so that's why you want to avoid things like thermal runaway on your transistors and integrated circuits. So, with heat being the enemy of what it is that you're doing here, it's a bit of a snowball effect when you have a processor that's running hotter, so all the fans have to spin up in order to cool it. Or you have a situation where you're running your fans faster. So here's the thing. You might be talking about a 5-volt device in your CPU that has, that is generating more power. That power generates more heat. Now you have to run, in addition to the processor being higher, you now have to run all the fans at a faster speed to try and cool the system. Or if you water cool, now you got to modify some other things as well. It's just one of those things where if you're thinking basic air cooling, turning up your chassis fans and whatnot, because your processor is faster, and also if your GPU is faster, therefore generating wattage, and wattage has the side effect of generating heat. Now, on top of your devices running faster, you need more fans to cool them. So now you've got mechanical devices with moving parts on the 12-volt part of the power supply that are running on the 12-volt side of things that have to spin up as well. So you see where I'm going here? Increase the speed of the fan increases the power draw of however many fans you have in the case. It's not just about whatever the wattage is on the die itself, on what the CPU and GPU are doing here. And this, of course, these are tests with... What GPU did they use? In this case, it was RTX 3080. That graphics card that nobody can get. Yeah, one of those. Just look at this. 89 watts versus 153 watts. Nearly a half wattage thing here. So that's awesome. Battlefield 5, move forward, see if we can find a spot where it's lit up a little more. 188 versus 206 starts to lose, but then again, 81 watts versus 147 watts. How about Red Dead Redemption 2? 82 versus 144. So just in the power differences alone, you see these processors, the Ryzen 5 playing ball with the i9. You see these processors doing their thing here, but look at the C power in wattage. And you think about what that does to your heat and other stuff. That's one of the reasons why the manufacturing processes were such a huge deal. It's not just a minor detail whether something can be 10 nanometer, 14 nanometer, 7 nanometer. It really does represent the future of the technology in terms of the efficiency, because let's not forget... Do I still have it around? Where's my phone? Somewhere else. Let's not forget... I went to charge it, that's why. So... What's this one? This one's cool. Hadron Collider. I got a feeling that as I listen to these synthwave songs from the Stream Beats project, that I'm gonna like them and, and cycle them in and out. Cycle them in and out of everything every so often. Kind of make like production music out of them and not just playing them. So, gotta get a Spotify integration going so Harris can get credit for all the plays. Then again, it's several plays per stream. Versus people just playing this on their own. This is on Spotify, by the way. Yeah, so See, the i9, so the i5 plays ball with the i9. Now, this is the part where we should go to user benchmark. 5600X versus 10900K. There should be a user benchmark result for that. Oh, this is embarrassing. $500 versus $374 for a 1020 versus 612. And the 612 is playing ball with the 1020. Yikes. Watch gameplay. This must be because user benchmark, I think, is getting in on the action. Let me just click that and see what it does. Load that up. Oh, it is. Oh, shots fired, testing games. What do we have here? Wow. But what kind of stats do they show? CSGO. They're not showing enough stats. Like, let's see here. Yeah, so they're not showing the same stats as... All right, let's pause this and just put it on the screen. This is the new user benchmark channel, but it's showing things like frames per second and stuff. I mean, I know that a good processor is going to get me a good frame per second, but I want to see the power draw as well. I want to see how efficient the processor is, because we're seeing a situation where the 5600X versus the 10900K is... they're playing ball with each other, but with big differences in the manufacturing technology that creates these things. It's interesting, this is with an RTX 2060. That's my card. Well, that's cool. Let's see here. What's some other... and they're also not using this stuff to split off the games either. Yeah, okay. User benchmark is cool, but I want to see power. I don't just want to see frame rates here, because I know I can get frame rates with good gear. Just like how I can build an old system, or I can purchase a secondhand system with like an FX chip or something and still be able to play the video games. The question is how efficient. So it's one of the reasons why I'm looking into things like Bulldozer versus Ryzen with some of these things. Look what we have here. I mean, here we are back to the Ryzen 5 5600X versus 10900K. Let's check Mafia Definitive Edition. Hey, if you love Home Depot, is that Capital One shopping again? Yeah, this advertise. Yeah, it is. Oh boy. Well, we just supported the creators there. Let's freeze this on Mafia and whatnot. Yeah, so I guess we got to figure out what to do about these shortages then. Let's see. Put Firefox back on the screen now that the game's back on there. So Ryzen 5 5600X, blah 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 blah. Again, 58 versus 119 watts. Yikes. 172, 182, hanging out frame rate wise in the same general area, but the Ryzen is actually more efficient, despite being slammed more because it's not as robust in terms of its architecture. That's something we got to think about here. So the Ryzen kicks ass, but there are GPU shortages. At what point do people start buying processors like the G series Ryzens? That way they have some 3D stuff if they can't find a graphics card anywhere. And we're at the point with graphics cards where 1080p is just a completely mature technology at this point. So it's a sort of thing where there are certain graphics cards where nobody cares about 1080p performance anymore because it is so easy to do. It's so easy to get 1080 60 and have a smooth frame rate. It's basically a completely mature technology at this point. So what if, say, these graphics card shortages don't stop and we end up with a situation where people are building Ryzen systems with G processors because they can't get a graphics card? They start at 1080, 30, or 60 or whatever, at whatever settings they need in order to get that, then upgrade to a faster Ryzen when the graphics cards come available again, because socket AM4 has just had that much stuff in it, and you have a smaller processor you can use when you buy a new motherboard to flash the BIOS. So keep the stock cooler handy. Makes me wonder if everybody will be able to get 1080 60 with just the CPU and just run it through an upscaler on their television if they have a 4K TV. So try and upscale it from 1080 60 to 4K, and then fill in to native 4K when the hardware becomes available again. But I've been through several hardware shortages while building computers. Oh, Microsoft Flight Simulator. Here we go. And again, a wattage difference, not just a CPU difference here. Witcher 3 Wild Hunt. That one has a couple of games on it. Oh, we got another ad. Well, let's let it play here. It's a non-skippable, so... Oh, no, it's skippable after 5 seconds. Best winter sale ever at Subaru. Yeah, it's the same thing, too. Nearly a 2-to-1 ratio when it comes to the wattage. Yikes, dude. So, you know what these kinds of numbers are getting me to thinking about? These kinds of numbers have me wondering if it's even worth it to keep my old systems around, because I've got... sad, because Tuxedo, my old Pre Ryzen AMD system, has a motherboard that's mint, because it's the replacement motherboard, versus the one that I picked up in 2010, which I kind of destroyed with overclocking. So it's capped on processor. It's capped on a processor with the hippie chip that I put in it. What was it? The FX, like, something or another. I think it's an 8320 low power version or something. I'm trying to salvage something, some semblance of something or another from the Pre Ryzen era. But yeah, you think about, for example, the power and whatnot of like keeping a Core 2 quad going or keeping an old system going like this. And you really have to wonder, what have we come to? Are we at the point where a dirt cheap Ryzen 3 system would actually be better than what it is that you could build otherwise? Now, let's take a look at that. Let's go to Newegg. Switch back to Microsoft Edge. What is the cheapest Ryzen that I can get? So, Microsoft Edge. What is the cheapest Ryzen that I could get? Price low to high. So, I want a new processor, not a used processor. So let's do that. What else are we looking at here? AMD shipped by Newegg and new. So, is this an open box? I want it to be new, not open box. Threadripper. Yeah, so the cheapest Ryzen, we'll just say 3500X. Interesting. 158 bucks. I don't even know what that is. So let's say the Ryzen 5 3600, because all the other stuff is out of stock. I have this on lowest price. Why is it not showing what I... Why don't we just go to Amazon, actually? Let me see what the cheapest thing is on Amazon. Amazon.com. Let's go Ryzen. No, actually, you know what I think that we need to do? I think we need to get the third parties involved. Yeah. Let's go back and let's look up third parties. Okay, because Newegg has third-party logistics people that deliver for them, so I want new AMD. Cheapest I can get. Oh, look, a Bristol Ridge. Athlon 3000G. Okay, let's at least do socket AM4. Oh, well, that is all socket AM4. All right. Lowest price. So we got the Ryzen 3 3200G for $172 versus the Ryzen 5 1600 65. They're both 65-watt processors, though. Except this one gives me graphics. So let's compare them. Let's go user benchmark those things. And let's set up the user benchmark comparisons in Firefox and then just switch over. So we're done with that video. We're done with that YouTube video. Let's go with Ryzen 5 1600 versus Ryzen 3. What's that, a 3200G? Yeah, 3200G. What's the performance difference? Versus 5 1600, about... How do you want graphics or do you not want graphics? 1%. Oh boy, what have I wandered into? Look at this. 1%. Ignoring those prices because they're roughly around the same for on Newegg right now. 73.4, one core 99.8 versus 103. 196 versus 210, 375, 403, 629, 409. What are the cores there? Oh, it's a 612 versus all the G processors I think are quads. So get a graphics card and whatnot. So you're thinking cheapest processor you can get on Newegg right now is Ryzen 5 1600 through AMD's through Newegg's third-party logistics people. Unless you, of course, build a Bristol Ridge or something, which I wouldn't. I want to know what the cheapest Ryzen is. So Ryzen 5 1600, 65 watts. So what does that equate? It's 65 watt processor. So if I go back to, let's go back to YouTube. Testing games, YouTube. Let me see what kind of Ryzen 5 1600 videos are compared here. Ryzen 5 1600. I want to see what kind of comparisons they have. How recently are they? I'm having trouble finding them. They're from too recently. Can I sort these by when they posted? $1,600. Yeah, so we're looking at stuff from when the processor was current. Well, that's not good. Can I filter the results by what was the most recent, though? So let's do... Yeah, so doing Ryzen 5 1600 versus... Just search for that. Is first-gen Ryzen still good? From Optimum Tech, etc. So the closest they came, can we sort by when they were uploaded? How about this year? In 2020... See, they're only... People on YouTube are only comparing that Ryzen 5 to itself. They're doing the very, like, the AF version of it or something. And they're comparing it to the Core i5 9400. And it's basically holding its own. What kind of wattage are we talking with those, though? Just run the ad, support the creator. Let's see what we got here. TurboTax, 15-second non-skippable. Let's see what we got for power. Oh! This is from February of 2020. So the power isn't even being... The C power isn't even... wasn't even on screen yet. Interesting. So let's do Ryzen 5 1500. Yeah, so it's... yeah, let's put this on screen here. They weren't showing the power yet for this. Just processor... frame rate ranges and all that lovely stuff. So let's actually see 1560 and let's flip that other processor over to the i5 9400F. The Core i5, let's do 9400F in the box. Supposed to be a 20% faster thing too. So Coffee Lake 6 and 6, Coffee Lake versus 612 regular Zen. Looks like the it looks like the Core i is supposed to be better. They're both 65 watt processors. Interesting. It's about 6.6 and 6.12. So now if we look at this, we look at these right here. Cheapest Ryzen versus the i5 9400F. Well, what can you get that? Whoa. Say it, don't spray it. 20% faster, huh? Supposedly there's a YouTube video of this. I'm curious how many of these... Yeah, well, let's check out that YouTube video. Oh, it just bounces you over to YouTube. Yeah, it bounces you over to the YouTube channel that they started for the site. Well, that's interesting. I'm curious if any of these videos are being driven by the not the metadata, but the search data. So, the search data is based on... Let's duplicate this tab and let's look for a 9400F. What would that cost on Newegg right now? $153, so roughly around the same cost. Okay, so at this point, maybe you would want to go Intel. Except, this is Intel we're talking about. The AM4 that you buy... The AM4 that you buy the Ryzen chip with could be upgraded to a better Ryzen later on, as opposed to the sockets changing more often for the Intel processors. So no. So Ryzen 5 1600... Okay, then, I guess we got our equivalent on that. Let's switch over to Ryzen versus Pre Ryzen. What kind of an equivalent are we looking at for this? Not Newegg. Let's go to Firefox. All right, so we'll keep it up with this Ryzen 5 Yeah, so back to the top. Ryzen 5 1600 regular processor. Let's change this over to some of these older ones. So, FX to the 8350. I think it was the 8370E. No, it was 8320E, I believe. Tuxedo's processor. 17% faster. 17% faster. Clobbers it in all the multi-cores. Yeah. Yeah, crazy. That's what architecture does. How about the 8350? The inseparable AMD processor that was often paired up with a Sabertooth. 9%. You're talking 125 watt processor though. And this thing could really be a power sucker in real world measurements. 125 watts, yikes. Yeah, nice to have. Then you have overclocked and regular. Still pretty decent, but emphasis Ryzen. Let's suppose I want to do Core i5. Let's do Dellosaurus stuff here. Let's do Core i versus Ryzen 5 versus the Core i7 2600. Yeah. Dellosaurus processor. Single core 99.8 versus 90.6. 196 versus 173, 375. It beats the old Intel. And this is one of the workarounds that I came up with in terms of cheaper computers, is putting a graphics card in an Optiplex, or putting an Optiplex in a new case, which is an alternative you could do. Because I know there's space issues with certain graphics cards in an Optiplex. But yeah, there's the i7 2600. How about versus the i7 3770, the Ivy Bridge equivalent? Slight advantage Ivy Bridge, but you're still talking difference in the TDPs. And what do we have for cores? 99.8 versus 99.7. Woo. 196, 192, 375, 337. So yeah, I would still slightly pull ahead, depending on the benchmark you were running and the architecture of things. So this is the Dellosaurus. This is the Dellosaurus rendered obsolete, both of them. Rendered obsolete by the cheapest processor on Newegg. The Ryzen 5 1600. Let's go to Newegg and build something. Or PC Part Picker or whatever. So, okay, Ryzen 5 1600, socket AM4. So I got the cheapest Ryzen, which is sold by a third party, for 160. I think this is where, let's see here. Do not give me the purchase protection thingy. Okay. About $160 right now. I think this is where the Dellosaurus is going to win, because the Dellosaurus is technically cheaper. I mean, I bought the Dellosauruses that I have, I picked up for like $300, and that included a Windows 10 license. Both of them were like 300 something. So that's part of the reason why I have them. So we know that building new nowadays, and this is where we're going to run into the cost of everything. Okay. AM4 motherboard. Can I get a bundle? What's the cheapest motherboard I can get for a Ryzen? With a brand that I actually recognize. MSI A520M Pro for $60. So as soon as Newegg stops loading like it's dial-up and asking me for extended warranties, I'm at $224. I'm at $224 just from the motherboard and processor. I think this is where it loses. Let me do Dell Optiplex. Let me do Dell Optiplex 7010. What are those going for nowadays? I want the tower and I want the eye. Okay, game over. The value of a Dellosaurus, ladies and gentlemen. Microsoft Edge, please. Dell, etc., etc. Scroll up. Dell, etc., etc. Make it half. Whoops. I really should just make this full screen. I really should just make this full screen and uncrop all of this, because I just screwed everything up. Crash. Oh, now it's all completely the wrong size. Da-da. Switch scenes. Firefox. Edge. You know what? Take the listing to Firefox. I just broke Microsoft Edge. Oh, wait, what? Wait, what? No. Take that. Oh, it's because I shrunk it down. I'm getting my browsers mixed up. There we go. I'm on top of the price. Have you tried collections? Shut up, Microsoft Edge. It's going off the edge. Ha, the edge. $334. So $300 for a $334 for a Dellosaurus. 16 gigs DDR3, 2 terabyte drive. So you're at $300 with a copy of Windows 10 Pro 64-bit. So this is the part where you go graphics card shopping or something like that, but there you go. So even with the cheapest Ryzen, this is the value of Dellosaurus is right there. And if I buy a case to put all this in to make it, easier to fit bigger graphics cards, I could always do something like that. But the bottom line is I have options. I'm not frozen, am I? No, okay. Laser Runner. What, is Harris Heller taking lessons from Slink with the video game sounds in there? There you go. So yeah. So if the efficiency is there, which I know it is for some of these older Ivy Bridges, these corporate machines, because these corporate machines are basically made to keep the overhead costs under control. These corporate machines are used to keep the overhead costs under control, so low power is part of the design. But you can always upgrade to a power supply that has the same efficiency rating but lets you put in a proper graphics card. And then when the graphics card won't fit right, you could always just take the punch out for the board and everything and put it over to another case or something like that, find a way to mount it. But I guess there is still value in a Dellosaurus in the first place. Well, that's cool to know. So yeah. As much as the Ryzen 5 1600 is the cheapest processor on Newegg, there is still a reason to buy an old Dellosaurus and fix it up. Okay, here I was thinking, I think maybe the old custom-built systems might be the problem here. Yeah, so i7-3770, how about the original Dellosaurus? 2600? It's a 4.8, 3.4 gigahertz, etc. I know it's efficient because I've tested it. Although the Ivy Bridge is definitely newer. Huh. Well, that's good to know. Good to know that the Dellosauruses still have some use out there. Or any other refurb that, could put a graphics card into. Well then. I'm just emphasizing corporate because corporate machines are made to keep overhead down and they're made to manage costs, which is something you run into with corporate IT. Consumer IT doesn't care about it as much because they want the fastest stuff. But when you're talking about the wattage of what your processor is doing and how much your machine's pulling from the wall, that's a biggie there. So you figure $330, that's roughly the price I've paid for both Dellosauruses that I have. So you start with $330. You're heading up to like the $400 mark or something. You're heading up to like $400 or something. Yeah, maybe I should do PC Part Picker or something and do like the cheapest processors out there. But I think by the time we're getting to RAM, the price of RAM and some other stuff might actually get in the way. And that's where I think these refurbs have their value. Is because they have power, they have efficiency. The question is, how long do they stay relevant? So, definitely some things to think about. And the 2060, the regular 2060 that I have, what's that going for these days? 300-ish? Yeah, right. Newegg. Lots of graphics card shortages here. $700 for a 2060. Ha 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 ha. Whatever. Oh, this is terrible. This is what's going to drive people to use G processors, which are selling out. Funny how that works. $659 for a 2060. MSI. One fan. 2060 DirectX 12. $800. This is ridiculous. Yep. This product is temporarily out of stock as a high demand. We'll replenish it as soon as possible. So what's What, pray tell, is so difficult about keeping this product in stock? Chip shortages, yeah, but don't these people realize that what you're going to run into is you're going to run into people buying like other people's secondhand PCs who don't know what they have and then gutting them to get like the GeForce 1700 out of them or something? There's ways around this, just not through the first-hand market. People who hope they don't buy a miner card or something. How about getting off of Newegg, just going to Amazon? $600. Yeah, $600 cards there. Woo! Yeah, I'm seeing more $600 cards. This is disgusting. How about Amazon Renewed? So let's do NVIDIA Renewed. Let's see here. For $429, I can get a GT 710. Woo! As part of a system that I just rip it out of. 2080 Super Founders Edition graphics card renewed, $1,300. NVIDIA Tesla K80, different kind of graphics card. Quadro, different kind of graphics card. $1,500 for 2080 Ti. This is disgusting. But I'm sure this is going to be part of what drives console sales through the roof. Oh, wait a minute. That's right. Yeah, it's pathetic, isn't it? Holy crap. What happened here? GTX 1070, $400 renewed. Not in stock until March 16th. This is nuts. Firefox. 1070, $400. And this is why the G processors... So let's do that then. GTX 1070 versus 3400G. What kind of a difference are we talking about? Oh, 387%. It makes me wonder what the next APU is going to be able to do. If there's these... I mean, let's think about it. It's only been a couple of... Let's think about it here. Let's put the results on screen. That's Firefox, right? And let's think about it here. Yeah, clobbers everything. Really must be an 8-core Ryzen 2. Here's the thing, though. So first we had you couldn't get the 10s. You couldn't get the 10s for a while at any decent price because of the crypto mining. Now we can't even find 20s, much less 30s, for decent prices because of everything that's going on right now. At what point does AMD say enough and start attacking discrete graphics cards with APUs? So the successor, the Ryzen 5000 series successor to the 3400G. Has there even been any discussion about a new Ryzen APU? Of course, you can't find those either, but Ryzen APU news. HP Ryzen 3 5400U. So there is some stuff that's out there from a day ago. Yes, there's an HP ProBook out there. Zen 3 powered Ryzen 5000U and 5000H Shazam? CPUs for notebooks up to 8 cores. 4.8 gigahertz overclocking support. Huh. So what does that stack up to? Ryzen 5000U, is that on YouTube yet? Mute. Anybody do any testing yet? 5950X. Now people are testing 4K. I gotta find this. Nobody's done any testing yet? Well, it's not out yet. Ha! So Testing Games has done a comparison of the two Ryzen 5s. Now, it looks like it hasn't shown up yet. Nobody's doing stuff on YouTube yet. Well, we shall see. Yeah, it was just announced at CES. So remember a while back I talked about how laptops are basically console killers? At what point will AMD decide to ramp that up a bit? See. Because the big thing we need is 1080-60. I think the next step we're going to see with this, if this market keeps breaking every other year, I think the next thing we're going to see with this is that you'll buy a laptop for 1080-60, and then you'll buy a gaming PC to go further. 45 watt TDP for the 5980 FX. Is there some kind of frame rate test or something from CES that actually showed you what it was like? This is WCCF Tech's article that I'm looking at here. Ryzen 5000U gaming. Come on, The Verge, you can do it. Best gaming notebooks. I'm going to watch some of this stuff. I'm going to watch some of this stuff offline. H series is for, yeah, okay. So they're distinguishing between the two types of laptops. There's the desktop replacements, and then there's the ones that are more portable. H series is the one for me to look at. Huh. Were there any demos of this? We'll have to check it out. Yeah, we'll check it out. 45 watt TDP, 8 core, 16 thread for the 5980HX. Yikes. That's pretty awesome. All right, we'll do that. See, Ars Technica. I gotta watch these CES speeches then, see what's going on with them. Because we're in a situation where if you can't get hardware, how are you gonna play games on PC? And if we can't get hardware, then how are we gonna get consoles? How's anybody gonna game on anything? So if the graphics card in this thing dies, go get the 1060 and go back to that. But yeah, it doesn't make any sense. Yeah, so what happened to the computer industry? You know, bottom line is people are going to adjust, whether they go to consoles, if they can get one, or laptops. If you can get 1080-60 and then upscale it, and some of these processors look like they're heading in that direction, then how is that not good enough until these companies decide to run actual decent supply chains again? That's my question. And how can companies this big be persistently inept at running a supply chain like this? They know that PC gaming is saving the desktop as we know it from obsolescence. Nettops, laptops, mobile, all of which have been encroaching upon the desktop's territory. People want stuff, though, they can build, upgrade, and make performance machines out of. Or in my case, performance and efficiency machines. But with how big these companies are, how does this stuff even happen? That's my question. How come every other year we have $800 graphics cards that are grotesquely overpriced for what they are? I mean, let's think about my own 2060. I bought the 2060 last year because I got sick of waiting for the 3000 series cards. Just like how I went Skylake because I got sick of waiting for Ryzen. And now here we are with a shortage of processors and other stuff out there. People can't find affordable hardware, and so my workaround actually turned out to be the best move for me. And if something cooks on the 2060 or gets struck by lightning or something, I'll go grab the 1060 from the Dellosaurus. Matter of fact, that's what I'm probably going to end up doing, is I'm going to put the 1060 inside Tuxedo, because I think inside that Dell, it gets pulled a little too much. So we'll just flip the 1050 Ti between the two Dellosauruses when we're tinkering with that stuff. But at this point with the state of hardware, I can't really do anything else because everything is going to cost an arm and a leg if it needs to be replaced. So no overclocking, no fancy stuff, and probably people out there that are looking for like Facebook Marketplace and stuff to buy parts PCs to gut those. instead of actually buying their own stuff. What a world we live in. Till next time, this is MultimediaJay signing off. Thanks for stopping by.